Like some comments? I really do. I like some comments. Don't care about you. I like some comments.
Fool killer then, aye. After a couple of, bit part appearances in several other titles, starting with Man Thing, I think. Yon fella got his own 10-part miniseries in 1990, and it charted the story of the third incantation of the character, as the somewhat OTT vigilante Baton is passed from Fool Killer Mark II. Looking round at the world today, the ubiquitous injustice one perceives, the ignorant dog-eat-dog immoral crusade that society often shows itself to be, and how good folk get stomped on good style by all manner of big baddies without a second thought. Ultimately, the inequality of nature at play in a godless existence. The sort of concerns and general frustrations most decent folk can get behind, and maybe occasionally dream about dishing out red-hot revengeance and giving the evil out there a mealy mouthful of their just desserts. And that. Well, meanwhile, only Fool Killer looks to really walk the walk, and just may well have the chutzpah to make some kind of a dent, while flipping meat patties down at Burger Clown. He gets his balls rolling with blade-carrying wrong-uns and perambulating poison pushers, before upping his game and rubbing out an entire gang of big bullies, who we observe jumping Fawkent Park and giving them real hidings. The response to his well-intended actions are somewhat mixed, and the lines between right and wrong blur further, as his filthy fools start showing themselves left, right and centre, and he widens his net to take in more and more, to a point where his newsworthy actions lead to Spidey involvement, and the more conscientious Fool Killer becomes in his search, the more most folk start looking like fools to him. So his black and white moralistic crusade starts to turn grey as it gets more and more personal. And while you might not be sure that Fool Killer is as righteous as he initially seemed, you're definitely in till end to see how it pans out. Yeah, this is different enough to keep more discerning readers turning the pages, and accessible enough to coax in some of the more mainstream comic fans. It treads that line pretty well. What for gander is this? Yeah, Fear Has a Name were another one of these scary shorts in one of the ubiquitous anthology comics that were chock full of boss horror stuff and so prevalent in the 70s. Coming from the Baron Werewolf's Haunted Library series on Charlton is this, and check that title out if you dig this kind of kit, as it's often overlooked for similar gear from time across at DC and Marvel. This particular comic, number 22 in that series, also has an ace little short called I Can Sing and All, which starts with a record player. But we've already covered the letter I a few episodes back, so we're going to have to shelve this for now, aren't we? Maybe next time round. Any road, it's still a nice enough little belter is this, and tells the tale of a stuntman who seems to dig danger even more than your typical thrill seeker, to the point where his manager's at his wit's end, bless him. Turns out our man without fear has his reasons, and with a bit of prompting, agrees to share his story with his inquisitive date one time. Will she live to regret it though? I guess like a lot of its type, some of this comes across as a tad clunky in bits, but has enough about it overall to cock a deafen to any bum notes it might pop out along the way. Very typical of this kind of thing really, but I used to eat this sort of stuff up with a spoon as a kid, man, and it still carries enough charm, I think. You know what you're in for here, so give it a do, if that's what you're after. To be honest, finals I weren't quite sure about from the off. I owed little to absolutely no truck with the old never judge a book by its cover adage. In fact, I often judge a book by its cover, and nearly always do. And it steers me right most of the time. It didn't look like it were up my street this, but I've always had a soft spot for quite a bit of stuff on Vertigo, and this 4-parter were bundled up for £2 round at Sash's a bit back, so why not, man? It starts out as your run-of-the-mill college fare before, telling you it's not really. Like all the best schools though, this gaff has notable history, though not so much in the way of modern day interest. And blah blah blah. I guess it'd be easy enough for me to go off on one here, but that wouldn't be right, really. And that's not 'cause I'm copping out critique wise, 'cause I'm not against discredit where discredit's due, but to put the boot in here to something like this wouldn't be right, 'cause it's clearly not aimed at me, and it's clearly not my sort of thing. For what it is, it seems right enough, and I'm sure there's enough young folk out there finding their feet bookwise, looking for something half different to dip their toes into, and there's no reason stuff like this won't be a stepping stone of sorts in that respect, and they might well go the whole hog and make it through the entire run of all 4 of these comics. I didn't mind. I stalled after 2 and I didn't go back. Maybe I'm missing out, and issues 3 and 4 turn the entire premise on its head, becoming a pastiche of a pastiche of a pastiche, or some other unlikely oddball notion. But as I've got a reading list as long as Mr. Tickle's arms, I never stuck around to find out. And if I were wrong to bail halfway through, feel free to berate that decision below. Try to keep your lambasting reasonably clean and objective though, eh? If you start coming with this, oh, your personal opinions stink, Jim lad. Listen to why you are wrong and I am correct. Then, understandably, I'll take no notice as you disappear up your own expert on everything, though never done naught with Harris. In meantime, I'll chalk this one down and trust me instincts next time, rather than having to drag you lot into me one-man fence-sitting contest. If finals looks like you dig it, give it a do, and if not, don't. How about that for a slipcase quote? Eh? Eh?